The little girl hadn't moved her legs in 3 years, and on the day Chief Adebayo Okonkwo watched his only child attempt to stand one more time and collapse into tears, he made a decision that would expose the darkest secret his family had been hiding since the day she was born. If you enjoy thrilling African stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell us where you are watching from. Your support means the world to us. Chief Adebayo Okonkwo was not a man who begged. At 62 years old, he controlled the largest real estate empire in West Africa. His properties stretched from Victoria Island to Abuja, from the oil-rich lands of Port Harcourt to the commercial heart of Kano. When he spoke, governors listened. When he invested, markets moved. His mansion in Banana Island had 17 bedrooms, a private cinema, and a fountain imported from Italy that cost more than most Nigerians would earn in 10 lifetimes. But all that power, all that wealth meant nothing when he sat in his daughter's pink bedroom and watched her drag herself across the floor because her legs refused to work. Her name was Oluwakemi. She was 7 years old, and she was the only thing Chief Okonkwo loved more than his empire. The official story was simple. At age 4, Kemi had fallen down the stairs. The doctors said it was a spinal injury, complicated, rare, expensive treatments in London, Germany, America. Nothing worked. The Okonkwo family accepted it as God's will. They built ramps throughout the mansion. They hired the best physiotherapists money could buy. They smiled for the cameras at charity events where Chief Okonkwo donated millions to children's hospitals. But Chief Okonkwo was not a fool. He built his empire by seeing what others missed, by questioning what others accepted. And for 3 years, something had been eating at him, a question he couldn't answer, a detail that didn't fit. His daughter's fall happened at exactly 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. He knew because he checked the security footage 100 times. But here was what made his blood run cold every time he watched it. In the video, Kemi was walking perfectly fine at 3:30 p.m. She went to the bathroom, she came out 17 minutes later, and her legs were already dragging. She never fell down any stairs. She collapsed in the hallway, screaming that she couldn't feel her legs. For 3 years, he kept this information to himself. He didn't know why. Perhaps he was afraid of what the answer might be. Perhaps he wanted to believe the doctors, the specialists, the men in white coats who spoke in medical terms he pretended to understand. Perhaps he was just tired. His wife had died giving birth to Kemi. His 3 older brothers had stolen from his company and forced him to cut them off. His sister, Ngozi, managed the household now. She chose the staff, she hired the doctors, she made sure everything ran smoothly. But everything was not running smoothly. The first person Chief Okonkwo hired to investigate was Dr. Chukwudi Obi, a neurologist who didn't work for money because he already had enough of it. Dr. Obi studied Kemi for 2 weeks. He reviewed every test, every scan, every medical report from the past 3 years. And then he said something that changed everything. "Chief, I don't know what happened to your daughter, but I know what didn't happen. This is not a spinal injury from a fall. The damage pattern is wrong. It's like someone poisoned specific nerves in her legs, deliberately, precisely." Chief Okonkwo sat very still when he heard this. He was in his study, surrounded by awards and photographs of himself with presidents and oil ministers. His hands rested on his mahogany desk, the same desk where he'd signed deals worth billions. He asked one question: who? Dr. Obi shook his head. "That's not my field, Chief, but whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing, and they had access to your daughter at the exact right time." After Dr. Obi left, Chief Okonkwo did something he hadn't done in 40 years. He cried. Not the quiet tears of grief he'd shed at his wife's funeral. This was rage and guilt and horror mixed together, choking him, making his chest tight. Someone had crippled his daughter. Someone in his house. Someone he trusted. The question was, who and why?
He started making a list in his mind. His sister Ngozi lived in the East Wing with her 2 daughters, Adaeze and Chiamaka. Ngozi had always been bitter that their father left the business to Adebayo instead of splitting it equally. But would she hurt a child? Her own niece? Then there was the household staff. The cook, Mama Ejike, had been with the family for 12 years. The driver, Joseph, for 8 years. The housekeeper, Mrs. Adeleke, for 5 years. The gardener, the security guards, the previous nanny who quit suddenly 2 months after Kemi's collapse. The previous nanny. Chief Okonkwo pulled out his phone and made a call. 3 hours later, he had an address in Ajegunle. The woman's name was Patience Ogbona. She had left his employment claiming family emergency. She never asked for a reference letter, never called to check on Kemi, just vanished. He wanted to go himself, to drive to Ajegunle and demand answers. But Chief Okonkwo didn't get rich by being impulsive. Instead, he made another call. This one to a private investigator named Emeka, a former police detective who now specialized in corporate espionage and family secrets. The kind of man who could find out if your business partner was stealing, or if your wife was faithful, or if your nanny had crippled your daughter. While he waited for Emeka's report, Chief Okonkwo did something else, something that would later save his daughter's life. He hired a new nanny without telling anyone in the family. He placed an advertisement in the Guardian newspaper, conducted interviews at his office in Victoria Island, and selected a young woman named Chinwe Okoro. Chinwe was 23 years old. She came from Mushin, one of the poorest areas in Lagos. She lived in a Face Me, I Face You compound with her grandmother, her 2 younger brothers, and her sister. She sold pure water in traffic to pay for her siblings' school fees after their parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. She had no formal education beyond secondary school, no experience as a nanny, no references. But when Chief Okonkwo asked her why she wanted the job, she didn't talk about the money. She said, "Sir, I know what it's like to be helpless. After my parents died, I couldn't walk for 2 months, not because my legs were broken, because my heart was broken. Someone helped me stand again. Maybe I can help your daughter." Chief Okonkwo hired her on the spot. He paid her 50,000 naira a month, which was more than she'd made in 6 months of selling water. He gave her a room in the mansion, 3 meals a day, and one instruction: watch everyone, trust no one. Report everything to me. Chinwe moved into the Okonkwo mansion on a Monday morning. She carried 1 bag containing all her possessions, 3 dresses, 2 wrappers, a Bible, and a photograph of her parents. The mansion overwhelmed her. The marble floors were so clean she could see her reflection. The chandeliers sparkled like stars. The air conditioning made her shiver. She had never been anywhere like this. Mrs. Adeleke, the housekeeper, showed her to her room with barely disguised contempt. "You're the 5th nanny in 3 years. The child is difficult, spoiled. She doesn't like strangers. Don't expect this to last." But when Chinwe met Kemi, she didn't see a spoiled child. She saw a little girl who was tired of being helpless, tired of being pitied, tired of doctors and physiotherapists who poked and prodded and promised nothing. Kemi sat in her wheelchair in the garden, staring at other children playing in the compound next door. She didn't turn around when Chinwe approached. "My name is Chinwe. I'm going to be spending time with you." Kemi said nothing. "I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to make you do exercises. I'm not going to tell you to be strong or brave or positive." Kemi turned her head slightly. "I'm just going to sit here with you. And if you want to talk, we talk. If you want to be quiet, we're quiet. If you want to tell me to go away, I'll go away." For the first time in 3 years, Kemi smiled. Just a little, just enough. They sat together in silence for an hour. Then Kemi spoke. "Do you think I'll ever walk again?" Chinwe didn't lie. "I don't know. But I know you're more than your legs. You're smart, you're beautiful, you're Chief Okonkwo's daughter, and that means something."
Over the next 2 weeks, Chinwe watched everything. She noticed that Ngozi, Chief Okonkwo's sister, visited Kemi's room every evening at exactly 7 p.m.
She would bring special tea, homemade, sweet-smelling. She would insist Kemi drink all of it. "For your health, my dear, to make you strong." She noticed that Adaeze and Chiamaka, Ngozi's daughters, whispered and laughed whenever they saw Kemi struggle. They made jokes about the cripple when they thought no one was listening. They talked about the mansion being theirs someday, about their uncle being old, about Kemi being damaged goods who would never inherit anything. She noticed that Mrs. Adeleke kept a locked cabinet in the storage room. "Medical supplies," she said, "for emergencies." But why would a housekeeper need a locked cabinet of medical supplies? She noticed that the cook, Mama Ejike, prepared Kemi's meals separately from everyone else's. "Special diet," she explained, "doctor's orders." But when Chinwe asked which doctor, Mama Ejike couldn't remember his name. Most importantly, she noticed the pills. Small white pills that Ngozi gave Kemi every night with the tea. "Vitamins," Ngozi said. "Very expensive, from Germany. They help with bone strength." Chinwe reported everything to Chief Okonkwo. He listened carefully, his face unreadable. Then he told her something that made her blood run cold. The private investigator found Patience Ogbonna, the previous nanny. She's dead. House fire 6 months ago. Very convenient, very clean, no witnesses. Chinwe felt fear for the first time since entering the mansion. This wasn't just about a sick child. This was about murder, about inheritance, about people who would kill to get what they wanted. "What do you want me to do, sir?" Chief Okakwo's eyes were hard. "I want you to switch the pills." He explained the plan. Dr. Obi had analyzed the vitamins Ngozi was giving Kemi. They weren't vitamins at all. They were a compound that damaged nerve function slowly, progressively, without leaving obvious traces. Small doses over years. Clever, evil, and almost impossible to detect unless you knew what to look for. Dr. Obi had prepared identical-looking pills. These ones were actually vitamins, real ones. The plan was simple. Chinwe would switch the bottles. Kemi would start getting better, and whoever was behind this would panic. People made mistakes when they panicked. They revealed themselves. But there was a risk. If Ngozi was working with someone else, if she had allies in the house, they might notice the switch. They might come after Chinwe. They might come after Kemi directly. Chief Okonkwo looked at this young woman from Mushin who sold water in traffic to feed her siblings. "I'm asking you to put yourself in danger. I'm asking you to lie to my family. I'm asking you to trust me completely, and I'm telling you that if this goes wrong, I might not be able to protect you. Do you understand?" Chinwe thought about her grandmother, who raised 4 children alone after her son died. She thought about her younger brothers who wanted to go to university. She thought about Kemi's smile when she said, "You're more than your legs." She thought about Patience Ogbonna dying in a convenient house fire. "I understand, sir. Tell me what to do." The switch happened on a Wednesday night. Chinwe waited until Ngozi went to her charity meeting in Lekki. She picked the lock on Ngozi's bedroom drawer using a technique her late father had taught her when she was young. Inside, she found 3 bottles of pills, all labeled as vitamins, all prescribed by Dr. Falarin, a name Chief Okonkwo's investigators couldn't find in any medical database in Nigeria. She switched 2 bottles, leaving one as backup in case Ngozi checked. Her hands shook the entire time. She kept expecting the door to open, expecting Ngozi to walk in, expecting everything to fall apart. But nothing happened. The switch was clean. She locked the drawer and went back to Kemi's room. That night, Ngozi came with the tea and the pills as usual. Chinwe watched from the corner, pretending to read a book. Kemi swallowed the pills, drank the tea, said goodnight to her aunt. Ngozi smiled. "Sweet dreams, my darling niece. Tomorrow will be another beautiful day." After she left, Kemi looked at Chinwe. "I don't like her." "Why not?" "She always smiles when she gives me the medicine, but her eyes don't smile. Do you know what I mean?" Chinwe knew exactly what she meant. 3 days later, something changed. Kemi woke up and said her legs felt different. Not better, just different. Less numb, more there, like they were waking up from a long sleep. Chinwe reported this to Chief Okonkwo immediately. He told her to act normal. Don't let anyone know. Don't give them any reason to change the routine. But by the end of the first week, Kemi could wiggle her toes. By the second week, she could bend her knees slightly. By the third week, she could feel pain when Chinwe pinched her calf. Pain, beautiful, wonderful pain that meant the nerves were healing. Chief Okonkwo brought in Dr. Obi secretly, late at night when everyone was asleep. The doctor examined Kemi and confirmed what they hoped. The nerve damage was reversing, slowly. It would take months, maybe a year, but she would walk again. Don't tell anyone, Chief Okonkwo instructed his daughter. Not your aunt, not your cousins, not the staff. This is our secret. You, me, Chinwe, and Dr. Obi. Can you keep a secret, Kemi? Kemi nodded. She was 7 years old, but she understood. Something bad was happening in her house, something that involved the people who were supposed to love her. The next day, Ngozi noticed. She was giving Kemi the evening pills when she paused and studied the child's face. You look different, healthier. Are you feeling better? Kemi had learned from her father. She was Chief Okonkwo's daughter. She knew how to lie when necessary. No, Auntie, same as always. Maybe it's just the weather. But Ngozi wasn't convinced. That night, Chinwe heard voices from Ngozi's room, angry voices. She pressed her ear to the door and listened. I'm telling you, something is wrong. She looks stronger. Her color is better. Did you check the pills? A man's voice, unfamiliar. I checked. Same bottle, same pills. Maybe she's just having a good week. Good weeks don't exist for her, not with what we've been giving her. Something changed. Someone knows. You're paranoid. Patience knew, and where is Patience now? Silence. Then the man spoke again. Do you want to stop? We can stop. The old man is 62. He could live another 20 years. We could wait. Ngozi laughed, a sound like broken glass. Wait? I've waited my whole life. Waited while my father gave everything to Adebayo. Waited while he built his empire and I got nothing. Waited while he married that woman and had that child. I'm done waiting. If the pills aren't working anymore, we'll find another way. What other way? Accidents happen, don't they? Children drown in swimming pools. Children fall from balconies. Children eat the wrong thing and stop breathing. Chinwe's heart was beating so loud she was sure they could hear it through the door. She backed away slowly, carefully, and ran to Chief Okonkwo's study. He was still awake, reviewing contracts. When she told him what she'd heard, his face went completely blank. No emotion, no reaction, just cold, hard focus. Who was the man? I don't know, sir. I've never heard his voice before. Chief Okonkwo made a phone call. 10 minutes later, Emeka, the private investigator, called back with a name. Dr. Marcus Falarin. Not a real doctor, a pharmacist who lost his license 5 years ago for selling controlled substances. He'd been having an affair with Ngozi for 3 years. He was the one who created the compound that crippled Kemi. He was the one who killed Patience when she started asking questions. Chief Okonkwo listened to all of this without speaking. Then he said, Thank you, Emeka. Send me everything you have. Photos, bank records, phone records, everything. After he hung up, he sat in his study for a long time. Chinwe stood by the door, not sure if she should leave or stay. Finally, he spoke. My sister wants to kill my daughter. For money, for property, for revenge against our dead father. He looked at Chinwe. What would you do if you were me? Chinwe thought about her own family, her grandmother who worked as a cleaner until her hands were raw, her brothers who studied by candlelight because they couldn't afford electricity, her sister who was so smart but had to drop out of school to help sell water. She thought about loyalty and blood and what those words really meant. Sir, family is not blood. It's about who would die for you, who would protect you, who would tell you the truth even when it hurts. Your sister is not your family. Your daughter is. I would protect her, no matter what it cost. Chief Okonkwo nodded slowly. Then we need to be very careful. Ngozi is desperate. Desperate people do desperate things, and I need to catch her doing something that will hold up in court. I need evidence that can't be denied. The plan was this: continue the pill switch, let Kemi keep improving, install hidden cameras in Ngozi's room to record her conversations with Dr. Falarin, wait for them to make their next move, and when they did, Chief Okonkwo would have the police, the lawyers, and the evidence all ready.
But plans have a way of falling apart. 2 days later, Ngozi suggested a family trip to their beach house in Lekki. Kemi needs fresh air. The sea breeze will be good for her. We'll go this weekend. Just family, no staff except one person to help with Kemi. Chief Okonkwo knew this was it. The beach house was isolated, private, far from witnesses. This was where Ngozi would make her move. This was where his daughter would have her accident. He agreed to the trip, but he made his own arrangements. He told Chinwe to pack Kemi's things. He told Emeka to have people watching the beach house. He told Dr. Obi to be on standby, and he told the police commissioner, a man who owed him several favors, to be ready to move when he called. Friday afternoon they drove to the beach house. Chief Okonkwo, Ngozi, Adaeze, Chiamaka, Kemi, and Chinwe. The house was beautiful. White walls, blue shutters, private beach, waves crashing against the shore. It should have been peaceful. Instead, it felt like a trap. That night at dinner, Ngozi was especially sweet to Kemi. She served her personally. She made sure she had the best fish, the softest rice, the coldest drink. She sat next to her and stroked her hair and told her stories about when she was young. Chinwe watched all of this and felt sick. This woman was planning to kill this child while smiling and stroking her hair. After dinner, Ngozi suggested everyone go to bed early. We'll wake up early tomorrow and watch the sunrise. Doesn't that sound lovely? Everyone went to their rooms. Chinwe stayed with Kemi, sleeping on a small bed next to her. She didn't trust leaving the girl alone for even a minute. Around 2 a.m., she heard footsteps outside the door. Slow, careful, someone trying not to be heard. The door handle turned slowly. Chinwe closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. The door opened. Someone walked in. She could smell perfume, Ngozi's perfume, expensive, French, the kind that costs more than Chinwe's entire year's salary. Through her barely open eyelids, Chinwe watched Ngozi approach Kemi's bed. She was holding something, a pillow. She stood over the sleeping child for a long moment. Then she lifted the pillow. Chinwe moved fast. She grabbed Ngozi's wrist before the pillow came down. "Don't!" Ngozi spun around, shocked. For a second, her mask dropped. Chinwe saw pure hatred in her eyes. Then the mask came back. "What are you doing? I was just adjusting her pillow. She looked uncomfortable." At 2 a.m. in the dark, while holding it over her face? They stared at each other. Chinwe was 23 years old, from Mushin, with nothing but her courage and her promise to protect this child. Ngozi was 55 years old, wealthy, connected, with everything to lose and nothing to stop her. "Let go of my hand," Ngozi said quietly. "No. You're just a nanny, a poor girl from nowhere. You think you can stop me? You think anyone will believe you over me? I think Chief Okonkwo will believe me.
Ngozi smiled. It was the cruelest smile Chinwe had ever seen. Chief Okonkwo is not here. He's sleeping in the master bedroom on the other side of the house. By the time you scream, by the time he wakes up, by the time he gets here, this will all be over, and you'll be blamed. The desperate nanny who tried to hurt the child. Who will they believe? Me, his sister, or you, a stranger we barely know? Chinwe realized she was right. She was alone. Ngozi was willing to kill, and there was no one to help her. But then the lights came on, and Chief Okonkwo was standing in the doorway, and next to him were 2 police officers, and Dr. Obi, and Emeka, the investigator, and cameras, recording everything. Chief Okonkwo's voice was cold as ice. They'll believe the video evidence, Ngozi. They'll believe the phone records showing your conversations with Dr. Folarin. They'll believe the medical evidence showing what you've been doing to my daughter for 3 years. They'll believe the bank records showing the payments. And they'll believe the recording we just made of you trying to smother a child. Ngozi's face went white, then red, then white again. She dropped the pillow. She looked at her sister. Adebayo, please, I'm your sister, your blood. I raised you when Mama died. I took care of you. You can't do this. You crippled my daughter. You killed Patience Ogbonna. You were going to murder a 7-year-old child for money. You're not my sister. You're a monster.
The police moved forward, and Ngozi started screaming. She lunged at Chinwe, blaming her for everything, calling her a witch, a demon, a poor rat from the gutters who ruined everything. The police pulled her back. They put handcuffs on her wrists. They read her rights. Adeze and Chiamaka came running from their room. When they saw what was happening, they started crying, not for their mother, for themselves, because they knew what this meant. The inheritance they counted on was gone. The lifestyle they expected was over. Everything they planned was destroyed. Chief Okonkwo looked at his nieces with something like pity. Your mother gave you everything except character. You laughed at a crippled child. You called her damaged goods. You dreamed of her death so you could take what was hers. You're young. Maybe you'll learn. Maybe you'll change. But you're not welcome in my house anymore. As the police led Ngozi away, she turned back one last time. You'll regret this, Adebayo. Family is everything. You just destroyed our family. No, Chief Okonkwo said quietly. You destroyed it 3 years ago when you poisoned an innocent child. After they were gone, Chief Okonkwo sat on Kemi's bed. His daughter was awake now, trembling, crying. He held her like he hadn't held her since she was a baby. Chinwe stood by the door, not sure if she should stay or leave. Chinwe, Chief Okonkwo said, come here. She approached slowly. You saved my daughter's life tonight. You risked everything for a child you barely knew. You stood up to a woman who could have destroyed you. Why? Chinwe thought about her answer. Sir, I told you, I know what it's like to be helpless. No one should feel that way, especially not a child, especially not when the people who are supposed to protect her are the ones hurting her. Chief Okonkwo stood up. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is a check for 5 million naira. It's not payment, it's a thank you. Use it for your family, for your siblings' education, for whatever you need. Chinwe stared at the envelope. 5 million naira, more money than she'd ever seen, more money than she'd imagined. She could pay for her brother's university, her sister could go back to school, her grandmother could stop cleaning toilets for rich people who treated her like dirt. Sir, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just promise me one thing. Stay with Kemi. Help her walk again. Be the person she needs. Can you do that? Chinwe looked at the little girl who was watching her with hope in her eyes. The girl who smiled when Chinwe said she was more than her legs. The girl who kept a secret even when she was scared. The girl who was Chief Okonkwo's whole world. Yes, sir, I promise. The next 6 months were difficult. The trial was public and ugly. Ngozi's lawyers tried everything. They claimed Chief Okonkwo was lying. They said the evidence was fabricated. They accused Chinwe of being a gold digger who manipulated a rich old man. They brought in experts who said the pills were harmless. They painted Ngozi as a loving aunt who was being framed by a paranoid brother. But the evidence was overwhelming. Dr. Folarin, facing a murder charge for patient Ogbonna's death, turned state witness. He testified about everything. The compound he created, the payments from Ngozi, the plan to slowly cripple Kemi so she would never inherit, the house fire that killed Patience when she discovered the truth. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts: attempted murder, child endangerment, conspiracy. Ngozi was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Dr. Folarin got 30 years, plus a separate trial for murder. Through it all, Chinwe stayed with Kemi. They did physiotherapy together every day. Slow progress, painful progress. Some days Kemi cried because her legs hurt too much. Some days she wanted to give up, but Chinwe never let her. You're stronger than the poison, Kemi. You're stronger than the people who tried to break you. You're a fighter. 8 months after the beach house incident, Kemi stood up without help. She took 3 steps before falling. Chinwe caught her. They both cried, happy tears this time. 12 months later, Kemi walked across the garden to where her father was sitting. He looked up from his newspaper and saw his daughter walking towards him. Really walking. No wheelchair, no help, just her own 2 feet carrying her forward. He stood up and met her halfway. He picked her up and spun her around and laughed like he hadn't laughed in years. Chinwe watched from the doorway. She thought about the day she walked into this mansion with 1 bag and a promise to watch everyone. She thought about switching pills in the middle of the night. She thought about standing between Ngozi and that pillow. She thought about how easily everything could have gone wrong. Chief Okonkwo put Kemi down and walked over to Chinwe. "I want to adopt you." Chinwe blinked. "Sir?" "Legally, make you part of this family. You saved Kemi's life. You risked your own life. You showed more loyalty than my own blood. I want you to be her sister, officially, if you'll accept." Chinwe looked at Kemi, who was smiling so wide her face might break. She looked at this mansion that used to terrify her. She looked at Chief Okonkwo, who had given her family a future. She thought about what family really meant. "Yes, sir, I accept." The adoption papers were filed the next week. Chinwe Okoro became Chinwe Okonkwo. Her grandmother, her brothers, and her sister moved from the Face Me, I Face You in Mushin to a new house in Ikeja that Chief Okonkwo bought for them. Her brothers enrolled in the University of Lagos. Her sister went back to school. Her grandmother retired with a pension that Chief Okonkwo set up personally. But this story doesn't end with happy families and justice served, because in prison, Ngozi made friends, dangerous friends, people who owed her favors, people who believed she was wrongly convicted, people who thought Chief Okonkwo had too much power and needed to be taught a lesson. 2 years after her conviction, Ngozi sent a message from prison. It reached Chief Okonkwo through channels he couldn't trace. The message was simple: "You took everything from me, my freedom, my daughters, my future. Now I'm going to take everything from you, starting with that girl from Mushin who ruined my life." Chief Okonkwo showed the letter to Chinwe. She was 25 now, confident, educated. She was studying business at the university while helping manage some of Chief Okonkwo's properties. She read the threat and handed it back. "She can't hurt us from prison. You don't know my sister like I know her. She's patient, she's clever, she's connected, and she has nothing but time to plan. What should we do?" Chief Okonkwo looked at his 2 daughters. Kemi was 10 now, walking, running, dancing, everything she should have been doing all along. And Chinwe, the poor girl from Mushin who became his daughter through courage instead of blood. "We stay alert, we stay together, we trust each other, And we remember that some evil never truly dies. It just waits for another chance. 3 months later, someone tried to kidnap Kemi outside her school. The attempt failed because Chief Okonkwo had hired private security after the threat, but the message was clear. Ngozi was reaching out from behind bars. She was making moves. She was keeping her promise. Chief Okonkwo increased security everywhere. Armed guards at the house, drivers trained in defensive tactics, background checks on every staff member. He was preparing for war. But he couldn't prepare for everything. He couldn't watch everyone all the time, and he couldn't protect his family from threats he didn't see coming. Because the real danger wasn't coming from outside the family. It was coming from someone they trusted completely. Someone who had been in the house all along. Someone who was smiling and serving and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And that moment was coming soon. If you enjoy thrilling African stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell us where you are watching from. Your support means the world to us. What happens next will test everything the Okonkwo family has built. Will Chinwe survive the new threat? Will Kemi's recovery hold when danger returns? And who is the secret ally working with Ngozi from inside the mansion? Part 2 is coming, and the truth will shock you.